Did really Foxconn promise to come to the US?
Not at all. This is the funny thing about it, is that if you really pass the words of Foxconn after Masayoshi Son went to Trump Towers and met with Donald Trump, they never promised to invest any more money in the US. They merely said that they will look into it, and they're looking into the possibility of maybe investing in the US. But Terry Gou, the head of Foxconn, has been very, very careful about this. He's not committing, he's not going to overcommit, but he's certainly willing to let the US administration, the Trump administration, believe that maybe they will in future, because of course Foxconn will want incentives. They've built out their whole factory and their manufacturing base in China on the back of incentives. And wherever they go around the world, they want incentives, tax breaks, cheap land, cheap power, of course the supply of labor and all those things. Terry Gou knows that's going to be very difficult to achieve in the US, and if Donald Trump and of course Tim Cook at Apple want him to do that, he'll do it. But at this stage he's not promising to anything. So when he turns around and says to China, hey, look, don't worry about it, we're going to stay in the US, stay in China, he's really just promising what he's already been promising anyway. So there's really not a lot of change there.
But in terms of how crucial Foxconn is to China, give us an idea. We just said 1 million workers, but they have, even though they're Taiwanese based, they've actually got most of their capital in the mainland.
More than 75% of their non-cash assets, their fixed assets, are in China. A small amount in Taiwan, which is their home base, and spread around the rest of the world. But basically, yeah, they're 75% of their assets are in China. As you say, 1 million workers there, and they're very important to the China economy. They're actually the largest exporter out of China in terms of commodities or actual physical products. There is a lot of companies in China, but as such a large company, they are crucial to not just China overall, but specific areas within China are very, very important to China.
It's kind of interesting that they seem to be playing Trump here in the way that you're saying they're going to want to have more lures to come and work here. But actually, you had Alibaba chairman whiz over here to try and give some sort of hope to Donald Trump. How much on the ground are people worried, where you report from, about the president-elect, about what this might mean for Chinese companies exporting to the US?
Well, there is a concern of a trade war, that Donald Trump may spark a trade war with China. And look, the US won't win in a trade war, frankly. But there is also concern of, China retaliating, that China may make it difficult to import products into China. And if you look at companies like Apple, China is a very important growth market. Yeah. For everybody, China is an important growth market. And the US needs to decide, well, how's that going to work? But, what's interesting is Jack Ma, Masayoshi Son, Terry Gou, the three of them are actually good friends. They work together a lot. They talk a lot. And so they're probably talking about, what is their strategy for dealing with a president-elect Donald Trump and his policies. But really, the importance of those companies, the three of them together, to the US could be very, very big. But what I would caution is, don't bet too much on it. Take a lot of salt with all of these promises. It really should be taken with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of big pledges, big numbers coming out there. But you really need to drill down into the reality of those numbers and whether or not these big numbers are ever going to play out.